Well, we are continuing in our End of Age series, and it's been a second since I've been here. I've missed a couple services, and I wanted to just let you know that we have some incredible works happening all over the country right now. So one of our Grace International pastors, his name is Bob Lenz. He just joined our church association as a pastor a couple years ago. And he has this incredible ministry that God has helped him build over 25 years. And there's many facets to the ministry. He speaks in schools all over the place. Hundreds of thousands of students have heard him. But he has this thing in central Wisconsin called Life Fest. And it's one of the largest Christian music festivals anywhere. In fact, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, a couple weeks ago, they had on their last big night, there was a little over 30,000 people there. And so the gospel message is preached over and over. Thousands of people respond to the salvation call, and it's really incredible to see what God has done through that. It's an extremely wholesome environment. All for families. Tons of families camp out, and Brooke and I had been there as kids, and it's just amazing to see what God has done. Well, Bob has joined Grace International, and so we were out there, and we were able to see everything that they're doing, and got to spend some time with him, and there's all the Christian artists that you can think of are a part of that. And so Sunday morning they have a Sunday service, and there was a little over 1,000 people there, and I was able to lead worship representing Grace at that Sunday service, and we saw God move. It was an incredible time for anyone who might have stayed over at the campground and just gather to worship the Lord and just praise Him for what He had done that week. And so it's incredible to see what God is doing through that ministry. And then we took a few days to just spend some time. We have family in Wisconsin, so the boys. What you do in Wisconsin in the summertime is you go out on the water. So you go out on a boat because there's about 2.5 months where it's nice weather, and then it just freezes over. So you take advantage of it. In those couple months, though, it's absolutely gorgeous. So we were up there and just having a great time with family. And then we came home, and just this past weekend we were able to be a part of a church launch, Grace New England. If you were here last week, you saw a video of that. Pastor Steve, Becky, and I went up there, and we had an incredible time with Pastor Howard and Martha Kalugian, the pastors who are planting that. And so praise the Lord that we have Grace New England in Ware, New Hampshire going, and we're believing that God's going to do great things. I want to take you on a little saga, though, because I think it's applicable. So in the middle of all that, we were on our way back from Wisconsin with my family after our few days in Green Bay. And it's just cheaper to fly out of Milwaukee, which is about 2 hours south of Green Bay. And so we flew Milwaukee to Houston. Well, when we were driving to Milwaukee, my family and I, our kids, we were running, kind of close on time, so we knew we didn't have a lot of extra time. And then we hit tons of traffic going into Milwaukee, and just jammed up. And there was construction and all that kind of stuff. And so we were like, man, we're looking at the time, trying to figure out, we think we'll be all right. Well, everyone was in a hurry, and it was a whole thing, and it was just crunched. And so we're driving, and it was kind of stop and go, back and forth. Well, the guy behind me decided he wanted to go more than he wanted to stop. And so, we're just hanging out, driving, and we started to slow down, almost came to a stop, and then he hits us from behind. And so everyone was fine. The rental car was not, and his car definitely was not. I went back, poor kid, he was crying. It was his dad's car, it was a whole thing. And so, good guy, but it was one of those things. Well, by the time we pulled over, we did what you're supposed to do, all of that kind of stuff. We looked at the clock and realized we're going to have a problem because the flight was now. And so we were only about 10 minutes away from the airport, so we get to the airport as quickly as we can. Now, if you've flown at all, you know that there's time frames. So what we found out when we got to the counter was we could go, We just would have to leave our bags behind. And so that wasn't going to work. I said, sell it all. Let's just get on the plane. My wife said no. And so we thought it through, all of this. I said, look, I'll stay back with the bags, all 19 of them, because it was a family vacation. And the family, Brooke and our 3 kids, can go and get back home as soon as they can, and I'll figure out another way home. Well, they get on the plane to find out that this particular plane just decided not to have air conditioning, and so we have pictures of like my baby. Her name's Summer Joy. Her cheeks are all red, and she's sitting in her diaper, and everyone's hot, and my 8-year-old's being very dramatic about it. And so they're, they finally get that worked out somewhere, on the way to Houston. They get back, they settle in. Well, I'm in Milwaukee. I have all these, bags, and I'm trying to figure out, and there was a still small voice that said, either that or it was experience flying, that said, don't check your bags yet. Figure out the best way, but don't check your bags out yet. So I figured out the only way home that was going to be free was going from Milwaukee to Denver to Houston, because Denver's on the way, apparently. So I book it, and then, but it was going to be a couple hours. So I decided, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to sit here, I'm going to wait and see what happens. So I wait. I'm just on the phone, on my computer, doing some work outside of the security and everything. And so I pick up all my stuff. It's about ready to go. I go to the kiosk. As I'm headed to the kiosk, I feel my phone buzz. I look, and the Denver flight was delayed a few hours. But what that allowed me to do was, for free, change my flight to another flight that would go through Chicago. Now, if you travel at all, Chicago is the easiest airport ever known to man to fly through. Saying that Chicago will be fine to fly through and we won't have any problems is sort of like saying it won't be hot in Houston this summer. You're guaranteed something. So, but I knew it was the easiest, and then I would get home at like 11 p.m. I thought, this is the way to go. So I book it, I do the whole thing, I check my bags, I get to Chicago. Milwaukee to Chicago, I'm sitting in Chicago, I get on the plane. We're sitting there, I thought we were ready to roll. Takes a little bit of extra time, and then the pilot comes over the intercom saying, the crew before us on this plane, this is what he said, wrote down notes saying they are missing a part. He didn't say what part it was. I looked out for the wing, So they said, we can't find the part to replace the missing part, so we're delayed at least, we think, about an hour. So we're going to deplane you, and then once we figure it out, we'll put you back on the plane. All right, so we get off the plane. 30, 45 minutes after sitting there or so out in the gate area, all of a sudden, alarms start going off, lights start flashing, and someone over the intercom comes on and says, this is a severe weather alert. Please head to the shelters immediately. And I thought, maybe it's just like a little thing. They pulled every single person that was on airplanes off of the planes, everyone from the gates, all of the restaurants, the shops, they closed them up, all the workers. They shoved everybody downstairs to this huge, if you've been to O'Hare, this huge tunnel. And thousands of people, they evacuated out of the terminals because there was a tornado. They said there's a tornado and it's coming and we need to clear the airport. And so I'm getting a little tired at this point. So I'm walking around and I was walking down the terminal and I see all these people being herded like animals to all these escalators and elevators and stairs. And I thought, surely there's a better option. And so I'm walking and I kind of got, yelled at a couple times, people going, you need to go that way, sir. But Pastor Steve has taught me, be counterculture. And You know, don't be like sheep. All have gone astray, right? So I see these two guys that look like they know what they're doing. They look like business guys. They look like they have the good luggage. They have the travel outfit. And I thought, they're going that way. The whole crowd's going this way. I'm going to follow those guys. They had apparently done this before. They went down this like super nondescript hallway, and it turned out there was a little sign above this door that said severe, weather shelter. And so they knew where one was, and I turned the corner, and it's the men's restroom. There was 30 of us, 30 dudes hanging out in the restroom, airport restroom, chilling, having a good time. At least it was better than the thousands of people with, I'm sure, like screaming babies. And by the way, you don't realize how many people travel with their pets until you have a severe weather alert with all these sirens going off and flashing lights. The pets freaked out. And so you're hearing, dogs, and, you see a camel walk by, and it's a whole, it was wild. So I stay in this restroom for, 40, 45 minutes. They finally lift it. Well, they had brought a bunch of people outside of security, I guess, and they had to get them back in, which delayed all of the planes. They had to put everyone back on these planes. They didn't have enough staff. I'm sure they were doing the best they could, but it was a mess. So finally, I think it was maybe an hour and a half, our flight boarded on a different airplane, and the pilot actually said, "We have a new plane, and this one's going to work." It's like, thank you for telling us that, just in case we were wondering. So we get on the airplane. We take off mid-flight. He goes, "Oh, we're going to have to take a different route to go around the storm. So it's going to add about 45 minutes to the flight." Okay, and this is middle of the night by now. And I finally get there. There was all these other airplanes coming in because the weather all up and down the Midwest. So baggage claim was weird. It took forever to get the bags. Then Ubers were backed up because Brooke didn't want to come get me at 4 a.m. Yes. I'm working on that, though. It's a marriage thing. And so I finally walk up my driveway at 5 a.m. So I go in the house, and then we were working on something for Grace New England. It was that weekend. I was scheduled to preach here last week. But I texted Pastor Steve, because I knew he'd be up at 5, because, he's that age, That was a dramatic response, Grace Woodlands. Yes, he's not here today, but there is video. Maybe we'll use first service guys for the podcast. So I text him, "Hey, here are our options for what we're trying to do with Grace New England." He calls me. "Hey, what's going on? You just got back, huh?" I was like, "Yes, just got back." And he goes, "Okay, well, I wouldn't make you do this. But what if you just took the flight with us to New Hampshire, and we all supported Howard and Martha in New Hampshire tomorrow, and we'll have Pastor Jason preach?" And I was like, "Pastor, whatever you want me to do, I'll do." I had a much better response than my wife had to me at 4 a.m. about the Uber. I said, I am available. Here I am. So I say, "Yeah, let's do it. Sounds good." We make the adjustments. I run over to the church, grab the acoustic guitar, run back home, unpack, pack, take another Uber to the airport, and by 7:30 a.m., I'm on an airplane feeling horrible about life, and I'm just like dazed. I try to sleep a little bit on the plane, doesn't work. I get there. We had an amazing service at Grace New England. It was awesome, incredible, and I was very excited for Howard and Martha and all that God is doing through our church to plant churches. And it's the first step in New England for us in our initiative called Redigging the Ancient Wells. We believe that God has a purpose for New England again, and we can see God do amazing revival type things in a place that has really been a very difficult place in the last handful of decades for Christianity. And we believe churches will be planted there through all of you and grace. And so, but we spent Saturday night with them and their service. On Sunday, I woke up Sunday not feeling the greatest. I thought I was just tired. We decided to drive all over New Hampshire, which I found out only takes a couple hours. But we saw all of New Hampshire, and in the middle of that, I started not to feel very well. And you know that thing where you're like, maybe I'm just tired. And then you start like not feeling well at all, and you're like, well, maybe I'm car sick. And then I start sweating, and I'm like, this is not good. I have a disease. And then I was like, hey, we got to pull over, guys. I'm so sorry. Here we are, here with our new pastors and Pastor Steve and Becky, and it's this whole thing, and we're seeing all the possibilities in New Hampshire, and I'm like, we stop. The only gas station we stop at doesn't have restrooms because they were under construction, so I don't even think that's like legal, but whatever. I bought a big box of Pepto-Bismol, and I started popping those like candy. Long story short, we do that, have an amazing time with Howard and Martha. We get to the hotel because we fly out on Monday morning back to Houston at 5:30 wheels up because Pastor Steve likes to punish us. He's like, well, I'm up, and Miss Becky and I are like, well, good for you. And so I all night I'm sick. It's not a good situation. I won't go into detail, but it was a problem. I get on the plane. I wake up in the middle of the flight, not doing well. More problems on the flight. I get back home. I finally am able to relax. So my point for saying all of that is this. Somewhere, by the way, and I'm pretty sure I got some sort of stomach bug. I'm pretty sure it happened in the men's restroom. Because somewhere between whatever bug I caught in the men's restroom, hanging out for 45 minutes, and driving around, everywhere New Hampshire and being extremely sick on an airplane, somewhere in the middle of that, I came to this realization. The end of the age is here. It is now, Lord, come. It is over, the end. So that is my message today. It's here. Yeah. So I guess, that's all I got. Let's pray. So have you ever that's a funny saga, but you either go through stuff in life or you look around the world and you see all this happening and you go, what in the world's going on? I think this might be maybe it's the end times. Maybe this is what Scripture's talking about. And then, your church starts teaching about it and you go, well, wait a minute. There's some things that sound familiar. Have you had that moment in this series so far where you're like, wow, this is kind of unbelievable? And you look at the crises that we see and you wonder, is that a sign? Is this a sign? You look at current events. Does this mean we're getting close? We see the world changing, and even as an unbeliever, someone would see the world is changing like that. It's flying by. Every year is different, isn't it? And as believers who study the Word, who know the Word, who know what God's Word says and His plan for us, we know that the world is not moving closer to following what is written in this book. Overall, although there be great things happening in some places and God moving and church is growing in the world and all of that, revival, and overall we're moving away from this. I would caution us, though, that when we look at what is currently happening, that we don't automatically apply it to be an end-time sign because it seems outrageous, or it seems difficult, or it seems problematic, or it's a tragedy or a crisis. I understand those who would wonder about it, because we are seeing increased evil activity across our globe in very key areas. Matthew 24, a chapter that we keep going back to, it's one that Jesus explained to his disciples the signs of those the times, the end times, what was happening for the temple in Jerusalem, but also at the end of the age, when the coming of the Son of Man. He gives us this picture very briefly in Matthew 24:8. He says, all these, the signs he was talking about, all these are the beginning of sorrows, or a lot of translations say the beginning of birth pains. Birth pains. What do we know about birth pains? Well, we know sometimes there are even birth pains before birth pains. When I was in my mid-20s, we got pregnant and we had our first baby, our oldest son, Landon. He's 11 now, and he when he was in the womb, Brooke, we're first parents, so we didn't totally know. We're very careful. We're watching every little thing, and you know how it goes. You're just trying to make sure everything's exactly right. And so she would start having some contractions, but it felt a little early in the whole timeline, and so she'd have some contractions. And so we finally went to the hospital, and we thought, well, we think we're having this baby. And so they entertain us, first-time parents, and they hook us up. Not me, her, to all the sensors. And they said, no, you're contracting, but there's a thing called Braxton Hicks contractions, and that doesn't mean you're having the baby right now. So we go home, kind of, a little embarrassed, jump the gun. Then a few days later we go, man, this is happening again. She said, I think I'm having this baby. Are you sure this is just Braxton Hicks? I'm like, I don't know. And so we should probably go in just to make sure. So we go into the hospital again. And it was sort of a smaller hospital, so, they remembered us from the, 3 days prior. And we go in, and they go, well, okay, we'll hook you up again and see. So they hook her up again, and it's the same thing. Not having the baby right now, just a little uncomfortable. So we go home, and then a few days later, I start having contractions. And so we go in, and they say, no, you're not having the baby yet. It's not not yet. And so we eventually, after multiple times in the hospital, we eventually get there and they say yes. So we're having this baby, and Brooke decided to take her time, and she was in labor for 21 hours. And I don't know if she was taking her time or Landon was taking his time, but however it worked, I was in the hospital room for 21 hours, during this labor situation. She actually pushed. She's a champ. She pushed for 3 hours. 3 hours. In fact, right in the middle, the doctor said, hey, this is taking a while. You're nowhere near having this baby. I'm going to go home, put my kids to bed, and then I'm going to come back, and we'll have this baby at some point. And so she did. She left for 45 minutes, came back, and sure enough, everything was fine. So we have Landon. It was an amazing miracle of life. The next morning, I try to get up out of that chair bed thing that all the dads have to sleep on, and I start to get up, and I am sore, like every ab that I have. I have one ab right now, but back then I was young. Every ab that I have was sore. My shoulders were sore. My back was sore, and I was like, man, why am I so sore? This is crazy. I mean, I understand my wife being sore, but I'm sore. And then I realized every time the night before, every time for 3 hours that my wife pushed, I was pushing as well. So every time she'd push, I was going, come on! You got it! Okay, let's take a break. So I'm pretty sure I did about 3,400 crunches in about 3 hours because I was like, come on, come on. And it was amazing. I finally asked the nurse, I was like, hey, I know she's sore, but I need some painkillers. I don't know who's more sore, in fact. And so yeah, it was bad. But we see these, my point is, if anyone knows what birth pains are like, I know what birth pains are like. That's my point. See, I've painted myself into a corner because I won't be able to go home today, but I won't be able to go to work tomorrow because of Pastor Steve, so. Well, what do we know about birth pains? Birth pains start early, they start small, they intensify over time, and they are working toward a specific end. They're working towards a specific end. So when Jesus gives this picture, I think we can look at this. And now, can I definitively say that everything happening is a birth pain that Jesus talked about? No, I can't. I don't think we're there quite yet. But can I say that, are we seeing maybe a glimpse or a picture or a hint or a possibility of what it would look like in that? I think, my opinion is yes. I think we look around and there's some possibilities that we've never seen before. Some connectivity, some technology, some different things that we've never seen before. Israel, never seen before, that we look at and go, okay, things are starting to pick up. Things are starting to pick up. So being aware of these things helps us be prepared, and it reminds us what we should be doing. Because that's the real question, right? As all of this is happening, what should we do? How should we respond? So let's look at what's happening really quickly. 5 categories of current events and their potential connection to the end of the age. First is widespread deception. I spoke on deception a few weeks ago. It seems like every time we look on the news or watch something, we go, what is real? What is true? Even our movies, the Marvel movies and everything, it's incredible what they can do. And, they're just in these like green jumpsuits, and then all of a sudden they're, in outer space, and it all looks real. And, what is real news? What is fake news? What is, deep fake videos? Is it real or is it not? All this AI stuff, virtual people that don't exist but yet are talking to us on the screen. Along with that, we have this moral relativism that has made its way into our culture, into our society. Subjective truth is guiding society. Not just truth, subjective truth. How it feels to you is how I must call reality. Ultimately, that leads us to being driven by false reality. And we would all agree that there seems to be a growing tolerance for evil. What our society and even the church can deal with now is very different than what we could stomach 2 decades ago. Over and over in Scripture, we see the instruction, do not be deceived, relating to the end of the age. Because when we let our guard down, deception grows. And some, we see, begin to fully embrace evil, wickedness, depravity. Romans 1, let's turn there, and I want to read this portion of Scripture because it's a piece of Scripture that when you read it, in this kind of context, you start to see things that are extremely familiar. If you've never read this portion before, it may open your eyes a little bit. Romans 1, verse 21, and we'll read it for a second. Because although they knew God, they did not glorify him as God, nor were thankful, but became futile in their thoughts, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Professing to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the incorruptible God into an image made like corruptible man, and birds and four-footed animals and creeping things. Therefore God also gave them up to uncleanness in the lusts of their hearts, to dishonor their bodies among themselves, who exchanged the truth of God for the lie, and worshipped and served the creature rather than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. For this reason, God gave them up to vile passions, for even their women exchanged the natural use for what is against nature. Likewise, also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust for one another. Men with men, committing what is shameful, and receiving in themselves the penalty of their error which was due. And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a debased mind to do those things which are not fitting, being filled with all unrighteousness, sexual immorality, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, evil-mindedness. They are whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, violent, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents, undiscerning, untrustworthy, unloving, unforgiving, unmerciful, who, knowing the righteous judgment of God, that those who practice such things are deserving of death, not only do the same, but also approve of those who practice them. Does that sound familiar at all? So we have, in today's world, woke ideologies disguising as inclusivity and equity. We have, quote-unquote, education being wrapped with ideologies like CRT. Greed, discontent, intolerance, by those shouting for tolerance the loudest, by the way. Rise of sex trafficking, especially with children. Gender confusion. If anything is confusing, gender shouldn't be. But homosexuality, transsexuality, LGBTQ plus, etc., etc., etc. And then so that bleeds into our practical lives, men and women's sports, safe haven states for abortions and gender-affirming care for minors. Our children are being targeted more than ever before. Just got to look around. More than even 5 years ago. Sexualization in movies and books, in our own school libraries, drag queen presentations being brought into some schools, and not just public schools, too. There's some Christian Catholic schools that have entertained this. Entire denominations have entertained this, church denominations. So much of the deception in society right now is based around this male and female. And honestly, to me, it's like the devil is just doubling down. He's saying, look, I'm going to go after some core things. I'm not just going to go after marriage between a man and a woman. I'm going to go after, are you a man or woman at all? Because if he can get to that root, if he can get to that foundation, and you question that, you have a misunderstanding of what it means to be a child of God made in the image of God. And if you don't understand that, you don't understand God and who he created each of us to be. You also don't understand your own personal worth, how God formed you in your mother's womb, how he knew you before time, how he knows now the hairs upon your head, each one of them, and he values you and loves you and cares for you. All that goes out the window if you don't even know if you're a boy or a girl. As I began looking at all of this, it was just hard to take, honestly. It was hard to stomach. I want to read you some news stories. I could just stand up here and read forever because it was for days and days with the amount of stuff I found and saw, but these are just a few. The LA Dodgers honoring anti-Catholic drag nuns, the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. Did you see this? They received the Community Hero Award for their work with LGBTQ in Los Angeles. A university in the United Kingdom blocked transgender sports research after a proposal mentioned the term male, said that term is misgendering. Think about that for a second. Miss Netherlands is not a miss at all. That wasn't the headline. That would have just been but Miss Netherlands, transgender model, broke boundaries with beauty pageant win. A male won a female beauty pageant. A teacher in Orange County, California, explains to high school students, and I saw the video, why sodomy is pleasurable and why adult toys available at Target are designed in a certain way. High school students. 1 week ago, the Department of Health and Human Services Assistant Secretary Levine said the treatment options for gender-affirming care for transgender youth really are evidence-based. I wanted to show you this video that showed on Nightline, I think it was about a week ago. Take a look at this.
You say to folks who think that they're being reasonable by saying, why can't children just wait till they're 18?
Adolescence is hard and puberty is hard. What if you're going through the wrong puberty? What if you inside feel that you are female, but now you're going through a male puberty?
One in 5 Gen Z identify as LGBTQ, according to Gallup. 1 in 5 in their poll self-identified. Take a look at these numbers and tell me if this isn't not just social, but also demonic. Look at this chart. So you have that bold line, total LGBT. You have the different generations there, Gen Z, millennials, Gen X, baby boomers, silent generation. So you have the silent generation all the way to the right. 1.7 identified. Baby boomer, 2.7, slight rise. Gen X, 3.3, slight rise. Huge jump to millennials to 11%. And then another huge jump to 20%, almost 20% in Gen Z. Deception, demonic, evil. Look at the next one. It'll just show you a picture. The bottom line there is the silent. The next one up, the red, is the baby boomer. Shows the track over time. Just in the last, 10 years? Gen Z is that blue line up there. Somehow in a year, 5% jump. So, that's Gallup. So there are different studies out there, but they're all saying the same thing generally. Brown University, according to the Brown Herald, said that LGBTQ student self-identification has doubled since 2010. A proposed bill, AB 665 in California, allows the removal of children aged 12 and up from their parents' home without a court order. You can look it up. Basically, it's saying that now, not just a clinical psychologist or anything like that, but an intern or a trainee, all the language is there, an intern or trainee like Lois can decide whether or not it is inappropriate to tell the parent that their 12-year-old child is considering moving out of the home and going into a residential home, a homeless shelter for kids. And they can decide, that intern or a trainee can decide whether or not it is appropriate or inappropriate to tell the parents that that's happening and that their child is going through that. And they put it under healthcare and counseling and gender-affirming care. I watched the video of a Baylor College of Medicine professor explaining that parental rights are the biggest hang-up that will stop them from performing sex change procedures on children. Parental rights. Yeah, praise God, you're right, because we need some parents to stand up and fight against this. It's not okay. And then I have a video. I blurred it out because I didn't want to show the pictures. I didn't want to show the visual, but you can hear the audio. What they're saying is this was in a parade in New York City. Drag queens and LGBTQ activists, they're saying, we're here, we're queer, we're coming for your children. This was just recently. Take a look at this. So as it relates to what we're talking about today, it's not like my great-grandpa is sitting in the corner saying, well, back in my day, that would have never happened. Or I never saw that growing up. I'm 38 years old. And I'll tell you, when I was 30, I would have never dreamed that we would be seeing what we are seeing today. Faster. Birth pains. Picking up. They intensify over time. They get worse and worse. So pray for our country, please. Pray for our world. Number 2, globalism. Dr. David Jeremiah says globalism is the entire world being bound up in interconnected systems. We know that interconnected systems can be helpful. There's a lot of benefit to systems being connected. But what we see is, because it's connected, there is a possibility of some of the things that we understand as end times prophecy being easier and just more possible than we had ever thought it would be. Travel is easier, of course. Communication is easier. Scientific discovery, exploration, knowledge sharing, healthcare. But also crisis times we see we're connected. One nation's problem becomes another nation's problem because of an airplane. We saw that with COVID. My opinion is we're only a few global crises, catastrophes away from people starting to call for a centralized system and a government or a leader or a group that will oversee things, because we obviously can't stay disconnected. We have to be more connected in order to solve the problems we're facing. And I believe that leads to, in the Lord's timing, the one world government and the different things we know will happen towards the end of the age. No, I don't know the timeline on that. All I'm saying is you kind of see that it's a little more possible than maybe it was 20, 30 years ago. We'll talk about the mark of the beast in another teaching in this series about economies being so connected that if you don't have a certain thing, you won't be able to buy or sell. Chips, biotech, different things like that. But just a good note, Dr. Jeremiah also reminds us that in a world that is globalizing, we as the church have a mission that is global. Can somebody say amen? Amen. We have a mission that is global. Go into all the world and preach the gospel. That is actually easier than ever before. Praise the Lord. Grace International is connected in 122 nations of the world. On any given day, we have Pastor Steve or Pastor Stu or myself or John or Sam or Jason talking to somebody in Africa, in Asia, in Malta, in the Caribbean, in Europe, in Ukraine, in all over the world. We see this. We see our missionaries, our pastors, our ministries preaching the gospel, caring for those in need. And that's just Grace International family. But we are a global family. Every time you give to outreach, that goes to our outreach initiatives, locally, regionally, and globally. And so I encourage you to be a part of that. Let's leverage these tools to make a global impact in the time we have. Because here's the thing, church, we have the time we have. We can't figure out all the details and all the timelines of the end of the age. We know that. But we know that we have the time we have. We don't know how long we have, but we have this time. We have today. And hopefully we have tomorrow. And so what are we going to do in the time we have to make an impact? We have a global mission. 3, cancel culture, offense. In Matthew 24 it said, then many will be offended. Jesus said, then many will be offended. Offense is a part of our daily life. It's used as a weapon, a pity party strategy, a guilt trip, attention seeking. It's used in manipulation. It's become the norm. Church, cancel culture cannot coexist with free speech. It doesn't work. Which, that's a benign statement, except for the fact that our entire country is founded on a few things, one being free speech. So when that is robbed from us because of cancel culture, what happens? That's a cornerstone of our democracy taken out. How long is it before Someone is offended that you are reading your Bible on an airplane. How long is it before you're wearing a cross to work and they say, no, I'm sorry, you can't wear that? How long before you lose your job because you prayed before lunch? Offense and tolerance are linked. Like I said before, have you ever noticed the groups that shout tolerance, tolerance, be tolerant, be tolerant, be tolerant are the most intolerant? Tolerance as long as you agree with me. Well, that's this spirit of offense. It doesn't allow you to be tolerant because you are chained in the you're tied up in this spirit of offense. So it doesn't allow you freedom. You are bound by it. And so it only allows you to be offended. It only allows you to feel and lash out and say things and different things. That's why it's such a destructive spirit to entertain and to be bound up in. It is not a freeing place to be. The more people take offense, the more other people feel they should be tolerant of things that they never thought they would tolerate. So it keeps going up and up and up and up. Offense rises, tolerance rises. Mostly. Offense rises, tolerance rises. We see this in the church. Like I said, entire denominations have said, you know what, we're tolerant of that now. What happened to, no, we just believe this. Well, times have changed. No, the Bible is the same. God is the same yesterday, today, and forever, and we can count on his word. So let's preach this. Let's live this. In an offended culture, though, someone's values will prevail. Someone's values will win. And right now, it's the offense culture. The church must be a place where offense is not harbored. We have to strive as church, as Jesus followers, to live in unity and peace and harmony like we have never had before. When you can get offended. That happens. I understand. It's not avoiding all the offense. It's taking the proper biblical action to resolve and forgive. You forgive like he forgave. The farther the world gets away from the picture that we see in Romans and all of that, the closer we are to the Lord's returning. Wars and rumors of wars. Number 4, wars and rumors of wars. Really quickly, I'm not going to spend a ton of time, but you see Russia and Ukraine. I mean, some people think that that Russia plays a key piece in the end times prophecies and all of that because it's for many reasons, but some of it is the geographical location relating to Israel, how big it is, all that kind of stuff. That is a view, regardless of what view you kind of look at that. This particular war, we are very, very interconnected across this planet with this war. Not just resources, but politically, all of that. There's no getting around that. It's a little different. And then you have another part of the world. You have China and Taiwan. And you have, so a superpower threatening to invade, like, Russia and the Ukraine thing, a superpower threatening to invade a neighboring country that's extremely valuable. Why is Taiwan valuable? 60% of the world's semiconductors are made there. 93 of the most advanced ones in the world. So every device is up for grabs, or at least 60% of them, and would be controlled by one entity, which is a communist China. So now that's oversimplifying the situation, but it's still a reality. So we look at that and we go, okay, is that a sign? Well, we don't know, but it is happening today. African wars and ongoing conflict, extremist violence in Africa reflects a near doubling since 2019. Since 2019. Militant terrorist extremist groups, violence has doubled. Mexico, Latin American countries, drug cartels, our own border situation. Israel, Dr. Sam will have a 2-part teaching on Israel, so I won't cover that here, but his be prepared for that. It's going to be amazing. You don't want to miss that. Of course, the Middle East. North Korea, that's always just, it keeps coming around, right? So my son, my 8-year-old, asked my wife, do we have churches in every country in Grace International? And she said, no, not every country, 122. And he said, do we have any churches in North Korea? I don't know why he asked that. He just, he's a geography guy. And so, in fact, he met someone from South Korea here in the church. She's a wonderful woman. She works at the church. And he found out she was from South Korea. And he goes, well, good thing you're not from North Korea. And she was like, yes, that is true. And anyway, he said, well, she said, no, we don't have a church in North Korea. And so he came back and he figured it out. He figured out how to have a church in North Korea. Go ahead and play this video. This is a 3D rendering that he made on his own on the iPad to show my wife and I how you can build that building on top, Grace. You see it's written Grace on the roof. On the left you have North Korea, NK. On the right underneath there you have South Korea. Now that line down the middle on those blocks, he said that's the border. So if you notice, he said, we build the church in South Korea, but one room is across the border in North Korea. That way we have a church in North Korea. Problem solved. So that's free. Not every war is an end times war, but we know wars and rumors of wars increase as we move towards the end. Number 5, technological advancements. We know about the growing reliance on tech. Take it away and we have problems. Not just the, withdrawal if you don't have the phone in your pocket. Not the phantom vibrations that, you get when you don't have your phone. When we don't have certain things or certain things in our system, we have real problems as a nation, as a community. Hugely reliant on tech. Question: as technology advances, who will be in charge? We want to say America. Number one, that's up for grabs right now. Who in America would be in charge? And then will America, we live here, so we want to think that we would be, but there's no guarantees. AI. The rise of AI, I will be giving my best effort to teach about AI on Wednesday. I would love to see all of you here, invite friends. I'm going to give my very best shot at bringing together the information we know and presenting it in a clear way, but from a biblical worldview. And we'll talk about artificial intelligence. So invite your friends. We'll have stuff on social media. Let's come on out and learn more about that on Wednesday. 6:45. 6:45, I'll start right on the dot. Real fast. OpenAI, ChatGPT, has announced the establishment of a new unit called superalignment. The primary goal of this initiative is to ensure that superintelligent AI does not lead to chaos or even human extinction. How many think that's a good idea if we have something that... Artificial Intelligence Task Force advisor to the UK Prime Minister came out with a stark warning. Quote, AI will threaten humans in 2 years. The Center for AI Safety recently issued a statement signed by prominent figures in AI warning about potential risks posed by the technology to humanity. Mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority alongside other societal scale risks such as pandemics and nuclear war. So that's the level they put the AI thing. Pandemics, nuclear war, AI. Google tests an AI tool that is able to write news articles. And they met with a bunch of news corporations already. saying our AI can write your news articles for you. Talk about fake news, Australian dish brain team wins $600,000. This was a grant to merge AI with human brain cells. What can go wrong? The Google quantum computer did calculations 47 years faster a couple months ago than the number one supercomputer in the world. So we leaped 47 years in the future. And then I like this one. Terminator director James Cameron on the rise of AI, quote, "I warned you guys in 1984 and you didn't listen." All right. So we see all these stories and we see all these headlines. How are we to respond? Well, some people, they respond too passively. I don't care. I'm going to stick my head in the sand. I'm not going to worry about it. It doesn't matter. It just will happen when it happens. I'm not going to worry. Passive. On the other side, you have people too predictive. Predictive. They're going to watch all the weird YouTube videos. And in fact, they don't even trust YouTube anymore. They're going way deep in to who knows what. Not to say there's not good information elsewhere, but you have to be careful on that kind of stuff, don't we? Because you can get down a trail and then find yourself lost in the woods. Predictive, because they take all that information and, well, this means this numerology is this means this person is this must be, he must be the Antichrist. This is this. Jesus is coming back in November. So if we don't want to be too passive, and I would make the case we don't want to be too predictive, we've heard this word over and over in this series, we want to be prepared. Because when we're prepared, we won't panic. When we see all these headlines, oh my goodness, look at what's happening in culture and society and gender and sexuality in our schools and our there systems and our political systems we didn't even touch on the natural disasters and the deaths and all of this. There can be this panic. You're not sure what's happening and you wonder and I don't know. But when you're prepared, it'll help you not panic. So we prepare personally. If you don't know where you are going when you die, that is your number one mission. Amen. If you aren't sure that if you were to die today, if you would go and spend the rest of eternity in heaven with the Lord, if you have never given your life to Jesus Christ, if you've never surrendered yourself and said, "You're my Savior, please forgive me of my sins, wash me clean, I'm going to live for you for the rest of my life." If you've never done that, that is your number one priority. And I promise you that if you take that step, your life will never be the same again. Will it be just gumdrops and lollipops? No. Stuff still happens. But now you have a foundation and a Savior and freedom in Jesus Christ. Because whom the Son sets free is free indeed. And so that is your number one. So personally, we prepare. Prayerfully, we prepare. We are a praying army, church. We need to pray. We need to put on the full armor of God every single day. We need to pray for healings and miracles and revivals. We need to pray that heaven invades earth. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Come to prayer meeting. Don't miss prayer meeting. If you're not sure how to pray, that's where you learn how to pray. And we are a praying army. The Bible also says pray continually. That means don't just pray at prayer meeting, pray every part of your day. Pray, pray, pray. So we're prayerful. And then we're practical with our preparedness. What would happen if the world experienced a major economic hit and Christians, the church, were able to stand up and say, you know what? because we've paid off debt. We're not chained. We're not slave to the lender. We have some money in the bank. We're diversified. We own the land. We own our vehicles. We're able to get around. We have some skills. We are not just good enough to take care of our family, but we can help others. What would happen if Christianity looked like that instead of us just looking like the world financially? We have classes that can help you get there if you're still stuck in that. It's not an evil place to be. Just don't stay there. And so, practically, we prepare. We get ready. And then I want to add one more piece to this. And it's one more P word, so you can remember it. It's not just enough to be prepared. Because of all we know, and because of all we're seeing in the news, we must, as a church, as Christians, persevere. As things get more difficult, we persevere. As there's mystery around technology and maybe things get tougher, we persevere. As some persecution comes to America for Christians, we persevere. As wars happen and rumors of wars are on the brink, we persevere as the church. As people continue to get more and more and more offended, and then more and more and more wicked, we persevere. We persevere. We persevere. 1 Corinthians says, But thanks be to God, who gives us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ. Therefore, my beloved brethren," that's you. Therefore, it says, "be steadfast." Everyone say steadfast. Steadfast. He says, "be immovable." Say immovable. "Always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that your labor is not in vain in the Lord." Can we be a church that is immovable? Can we be steadfast Christians? Can we be founded on the ways of the Lord, on the word of the Lord, not turning from the right or to the left as the world does, but we say, "God, you are the same yesterday and today and forever. And in the time I have on this earth, I'm going to be prepared, and whatever may come, I'm going to persevere. Whatever ailment comes in, I'm going to persevere. Whatever economic struggle comes in, I'm going to persevere. Whatever it looks like for the churches moving forward, I'm going to persevere, so that no one will mistake that Jesus Christ is my Lord, Jesus Christ is my Savior. And even though it may push me to the brink or even death, I will die proclaiming the good news of Jesus Christ." Can we be a people of God like that? Because, church, as we approach the end times, we are going to need to be a people like that. So do not weary in doing good. Persevere. Persevere.